GeogAtoZ, Day 2, Fieldwork, supporting the National Festival of Fieldwork from the Geographical Association. Second letter is B for biome. And I want you to think about the temperate biome that we are in and the climate that we have. We have a mild climate. We have averages in the summer between 15 and 20. Naturally, we've been up to 40 in the last few years on very rare occasions, but it does go into the 20s and 30s, certainly in the UK, on a more regular occurrence now due to climate variation, climate change. And winter rarely drops below zero. There are very few times that those of us in urbanised areas, certainly in the south of England, get snow. Rainfall can be high and through the year, and rainfall varies of between 1 and 4 metres per year. It's worth looking up your particular rainfall amounts for your area and how it compares to the highest and the lowest. And then the seasons. The differences mean that the plants and the animals will be differently affected, but how are they affected? How does that make that difference between those plants and those animals? The second idea about temperate biomes is what grows here. There's deciduous trees, naturally, oak, beech, ash, sycamore, and many others beside, but maybe focus on those what we might call native species. And then there's the understory. We're going to do an activity on the understory and suggest something there. We've got ideas of what's there in terms of moss and fern. What are the bluebells and the brambles like? Have we got specific names for those? Of course, trees lose their leaves in the autumn. We teach that to children, and they do that to conserve water and energy. And it's worth teaching them that in a temperate biome. So what about the biome for temperate wildlife? Well, we have those very common mammals, things like squirrels and foxes, badgers and deer, and if we're lucky, hedgehogs. And then the familiar birds that we might see, the sparrows, the robins, the owls, and maybe the odd woodpecker. Certainly even in London where I am, we do hear those in the distance, rare to see them. But then the insects and the invertebrates, where do they thrive? They particularly thrive in the undergrowth. So in a biome that we have that's temperate in the UK, we would have fertile soil, brown earth soils, which would be rich in nutrients, and that would be due to the rotting leaf litter, that wonderful word humus that I like to introduce to children. And that supports us as we can grow many things there. And then finally, what about the human influence on our biome? Much of our ancient temperate forest has been cleared. It's been cleared for us to live, it's been cleared for us to grow things, and it's been cleared for industry as well. So much of the woodland that we see, pretty much all of it that we see, will be managed or be what's called secondary growth. So it's worth bearing that in mind. How old are those trees that you see in your locality? But there are areas of conservation. There may be one near you. There's the New Forest, there's Epping Forest, and there's certainly parts of England, but also parts of Scotland and Wales as well, where those efforts are going on. So, one great resource. Why not do some understory spotting? Why not think about the birds that may build nests there? Revel in some of these wonderful words. The dunnock, the black cap, the chiff-chaff, the garden warbler, the lesser white-throat, the willow warbler and the nightingale. They may be nesting near to the ground, alongside the ferns and the wildflowers and the acorns and the snails and the spider webs and the berries and the lichen. So maybe you could have a spotting activity with the children to spot in the understory. Thanks very much for listening. See you again for C, and don't forget, barefoot walk around your understory. That might give you some inspiration for some emotive and effective approaches to geography.